Hi, folks. I wonder how Mercury retrograde is treating you. I can only tell you that I typically have to retape or re record my videos when Mercury is retrograde, and it's all for the better because the new moon in Libra video that I was recording was so meandering and so all over the place that I don't mind having to do a second go around with it. However, typically Mercury retrograde energy is felt strongest on the days when Mercury is going retrograde or direct. So that would be September 27th, 28th, and October 17th. But based on everything that I'm noticing, either myself or in other people's lives, it seems to have sort of taken on a life of its own since about Saturday or Sunday. So that would be October 3rd or 4th or so, and is definitely making its presence felt at present through communication snafus and all sorts of things and issues. One thing I wanted to mention in my video from yesterday, which was setting the stage for this new moon in Libra video that I'm doing right now, is that if you have Mercury retrograde in your birth chart, remember that this time frame between the 27th, 28th of September to the 17th, 18th of October may find you much more decisive and willing to dive off the proverbial diving board. When people have Mercury retrograde in the birth charts, they're prone to a lot of deliberating, a lot of conversation, a lot of processing, a lot of lack of decision making, a lot of feeling like, a lot of enjoying standing on the diving board at the very edge, wondering when and whether to jump off. But when Mercury goes retrograde, I find that they jump off. So don't feel the pressure of making a decision if it's not coming to you naturally, but if it allows you these next couple of weeks to silence some of the noise and be clear about what you're doing and which direction you're going and what you're going to do next and how you're going to proceed, enjoy that decisiveness and use this time to set some goals to move forward. Well, the setting of goals is very relevant to this particular new moon. With this new moon in Libra, followed by a full moon in Aries, then a new moon in Scorpio, then the eclipse in Taurus, then the new moon eclipse in Sagittarius, all these lunations carry with them some rather stressful, intense aspects. And as I've mentioned in my last couple of videos, we really start to see some relief and resolution as we get to the full moon in Gemini in the middle of December, which is not entirely surprising because the solar eclipse that we are under the influence of was in Gemini in June. And so the corresponding full moon is in the middle of December, even though it's not an eclipse. So we're in that cycle. The other thing, as many of you know, much more pronounced than usual, the idea of tying up loose ends on past issues that are troubling, problematic, deceptive, gaslighty, challenging, maybe issues there, maybe not issues there, but feeling like there are issues, things, energy leaks. Tying those up and tightening them and closing them down so that you can really avail of the new eclipse cycle and the new energies that are moving forward, which are inviting and trying to propel you to move forward, but a feeling of, over the next couple of months, really feeling like those things have to be put behind you. Now, they can be put behind you in a variety of different ways. Either fighting and drawing the line, or imposing boundaries where you feel they need to be imposed, or putting to bed certain issues, determining whether you at peace with where things are at or making peace with them, or by recognizing or realizing that there was nothing here in the first place. But it all requires a certain amount of investigation. Okay? It all requires review, it all requires action, it all requires concerted effort to tie up those loose ends that are still haunting you, even from 2015, 2016, so that more and more energy can be freed up to move into these future-oriented Taurus eclipse November 19th and the Scorpio eclipse cycle that is coming in for much of 2022 and 2023. Now, all of what I've said can be summarized in the description of this new moon, which is a new moon in Libra conjunct Mars in the sign where Mercury is retrograde. So it is a new moon. It launches a 4-week cycle, a month, for 28 days, insofar as the word month is derived from the moon, traditionally. 4 weeks, 28 days, that are imprinted with this idea of the new moon being conjunct Mars in the sign where Mercury is retrograde. Mercury retrograde re-looking at things, investigating things, needing to go over things, needing to review things. And the new moon conjunct Mars, the male planet, the testosterone planet, the hunter-gatherer, the protector, the going after and the pursuing of goals and taking action and making things happen, not just planning, putting things into action and getting results. But in its more intense energy, the energy of combat and fighting and taking and making happen, and both in its positive and negative forms, pushing through and destroying obstacles, but in a more challenging form, not taking prisoners, or not suffering fools gladly, where fools is in quotation mark because it becomes a projection of how Mars perceives anyone who is standing in the way of their goals. So whether it is the pursuit of goals, relevant and future-oriented, or the imposing boundaries, or fighting, or direct combat, having to do with past energies, those energies, the presence of which, the absence of which, the desire for which, the need for which, are very much in play along with this Mercury retrograde that goes investigate, investigate, investigate. So we are going to feel the pressure and the need to tie up these loose ends, and this is the new moon that starts the process that allows us to do so. And the question that we're going to be faced with is war or peace. And it is going to vary or depend based on what you are uncovering. If you're uncovering something that is coming up that requires action that has to do with protection or combat, then it's likely that you will move in that direction. If in your investigation and your review and the actions that you're taking to tie up these loose ends, you find that certain things are not true, or are projections, or kind of delusions, or the issue is not as extreme as you were thinking, or you may choose to decide to, or even if in certain cases you feel like there's something here, it bugs me, but in the pursuit of something larger, I'm going to let it go. There's something about the next couple of months, but it starts with this lunar cycle that starts the process of, I'm not going to use the word resolution as much as, it's so funny. It's like you have to fight for peace, and it has that kind of energy to it. So when I say war and peace, war or peace, war and peace, it's a very much a war for the sake of peace of mind, or maybe more accurately, action that can lead to peace of mind. And that peace of mind can be gained either by engaging in a certain amount of combat or argument, or the pursuit of goals, or the imposing of boundaries, because that leads to peace of mind, because what is being fought for needs to be fought for. Or else it can be achieving a peace of mind by knowing what to complete, what to let go of, what to forgive, what to process, and finally kind of tie it up with the rhythm and put it on a shelf and say, okay, I'm done with this. So there's this element of, remember, we've been tackling and dealing with these energies of, is it a bee or is it a grizzly bear? These kind of Neptunian, is someone deceiving me, or am I deceiving myself, or how big is this? All those kinds of confusing things. The other thing that I really have to point out, that even more than those kind of Neptunian energies, the two energies that are work involve, number one, Chiron. So we're coming out of a weekend, and this is a brief repetition of yesterday's video. We're coming out of a weekend where the Sun and Mars opposed Chiron, acutely, keenly aware of something that needs to be healed, a wound that was felt, not just a minor graze. We're talking about something much more at a soul level. Exposed, needs to be investigated. Where does Aries sit in your chart? That's where Chiron is transiting right now. What house does it occupy? What does that house stand for? Who does that house stand for? That could give you some clues. And it could be that this war or peace kind of question is very much infusing some of that healing process, and the Mercury retrograde as well. What do I need to investigate? What questions do I need to ask? What do I need to communicate? What can I make sense of? Where do I need to fight? Where do I need to let go? And how can I use all those energies to clear up all these energy leaks so I can focus on the future. If you have Mercury retrograde in your birth chart, it might just be your new moon cycle might be a lot simpler because it might simply be pursuing goals that are future oriented because you are ready during this time to jump off the diving board. If, like most of us, you have Mercury direct in your birth chart, this might be a time of going over things with a magnifying glass with your quiver of arrows on your back, going, as I investigate, do I need to shoot this arrow or do I need to let it go? The male and female side of us are very involved in this kind of war or peace question. Mars is in Libra, ruled by Venus. Mars is very uncomfortable in any sign that is ruled by Venus. The male side is somehow being dominated or is kind of feeling imposed by feminine principles. Venus right now is in Scorpio, ruled by Mars. So the yin and the yang, the male and female, the male part of us can't quite comfortably and easily go after the goals or impose the boundaries. The female side of us is not really very comfortable and not necessarily feeling the flow and the harmony of exchange. And that creates some of this tension, relationships, money, codependencies, power play. Okay, so if you look at the new moon in Libra, it is ruled by Venus. Venus is in Scorpio. Scorpio is ruled by Mars, and Pluto, control, manipulation, codependencies. Pluto is in Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, which is in Aquarius, which is ruled by Saturn. So Saturn and Uranus, the Saturn Aquarius square, which is one of the big aspect this year. What actions can you take that are contributing to the fullest expression of your potential, but involve you not going into the path of least resistance and leaning into patterns, behaviors that have not been serving you, but feel more comfortable and have been going on for about 28 years or so? Where does Aquarius sit in your chart? Where do you need to learn Saturn's lessons this year to March 2023, but especially this year where there are new beginnings happening with Jupiter's transit in Aquarius, so that you don't fall into the patterns that you have been falling into, which may feel more comfortable on the path of least resistance, but are holding you back from your highest potential? Where do you need to make war? Where do you need to make peace? Where do you need to let go of stuff? Where do you need to impose certain boundaries? And with Mercury retrograde, unless you have Mercury retrograde in your birth chart, in which case you might be all about being much clearer about what needs to be done and moving towards the future. If you have Mercury direct in your birth chart, you might be in a place where you're thinking, time to process the old so that I can be free to move forward, and determining where you make war, where you make peace. Okay? I am going to keep it this simple because I have no desire to have to record this again. And I think I've pretty much expressed the essence of this. So the two planetary influences, Chiron, wounds, woundedness, what needs to be healed, how long standing is it, does it go back to your childhood, where does Aries sit in your chart, what house does it occupy, what is being healed there, who typically sits in that part of the chart, what relationship, what psychic imprint is being healed there, what are you coming into this new moon with, what are past energies that could have to do with the sign of Pisces and where Neptune is. It goes back to 2015-16, but if not that, what is it that is draining your energy, that has this kind of gaslighty feeling that you need to determine whether action needs to be taken for protection or whether you can let go of certain things and move forward and kind of clean them up? And most significantly and importantly, where is it that these actions need to be infused with a sense of discipline around taking actions that are in your best interest and the best interest of you meeting your potential? So as you use this Mercury retrograde energy to go over things with your magnifying glass and thinking about and processing and asking questions and determining what is real, what is a real issue that needs action or defending, and what is a phony issue, or what is an issue that feels like it is no longer that important to you to defend. Just ask yourself whether you are, in making the decisions that you are, whether you're falling into long-standing patterns that don't serve you, whether you're saying yes when you really want to say no, or whether you're saying no when you really want to say yes, whether you're procrastinating, whether you are not taking your own potential and your peace of mind and your happiness and your success seriously enough to take the actions you need to take. And the big mystery of this new moon, which is occurring while Mercury is retrograde, of course, is what is it going to be and where? And that is a decision you need to make. Where is it war and where is it peace? Keeping in mind what I said earlier, you know, the irony is such a fascinating thing based on syntax in our language, with this idea of two things that are opposite but are not really opposite. It's not this or this as much as it is this and this. And so for the idea of you have to constantly fight for peace. It's ironic, but it is true. And what is it that you're going to fight? And that Mars energy might be hard to harness right now, but the new moon is conjunct Mars. So partnerships, relationships, agreements, contracts, whether they are written or unwritten, what people understand you have committed to, what you understand they have committed to, could very much be themes that are present in this idea of war or peace. After all, who are you going to make war or peace with? You know, it's not going to be some stranger on the street. Okay? If you found this useful, so get into this examination and resolve to take action where you need to. Sometimes action involves letting go of things or asking questions or making sure that dot the I, cross the T. Resolve to be armored up and armed up to make peace. And I'm not going to say get resolution, because I don't know that it's about resolution as much as it is. It's certainly not about retribution. And you know, with some of the stars involved with this new moon, this energy of retribution somewhere is also in the air. So just, you will feel like there are things that need to be guarded and where you need to protect yourself and where you need to take action. Okay, so let me just say it one more time and not keep going on and on, because it's the tendency for us to do when Mercury is retrograde. Make war to make peace, and figure out where it is that war needs to be made and where or action needs to be taken. That let's just be more constructive with the male principle here, and where action needs to be taken to put some boundaries in place, and where it needs to be taken to let go of certain things because they are either phony or no longer as important to you. But don't lie to yourself. Don't let yourself take action or be inactive when it will hurt you. If you found this useful, feel free to share it. Like it, subscribe to my YouTube channel, click on the bell icon to be notified whenever I do new videos, and I will continue to be in touch. Thank you so much for being patient with me as I've kind of reduced the frequency of these videos, but I'll continue to put them out there. Yeah. Investigate, take action. Investigate, take action. Investigate Mercury retrograde, take action Mars. And see where it leads you. And see if it starts to lead you to a place where all these energy leaks, anything that is stressing you out, anything that is preoccupying you, taking your energy away from building what you want to build in the future, whether those taps can be turned off, whether action can be taken to turn off those taps, whatever those actions need to be. Okay? Some of those actions may be longer term. You know, if you enter something that is much more problematic or legal or contractual or that has that kind of warlike energy, it may be that, but you got to start. You know, you got to start looking at things and asking the questions and poking around the bushes and determining what you need to do and how you need to go about it. Okay? I leave it at that. Thanks.